in one sense, we've got a Trump premium on the dollar. So if you look at the behavior of the dollar, it's been very strong, but relative to rate differentials, it's kind of moved more than rate differentials perhaps should justify.
Yeah.
And so the expectation is, well, that greater movement by the dollar reflects not just rate differentials, but Trump's tariffs, Trump's Doge policies, and other elements to his policy that are giving the dollar an additional boost. With regard to the tariffs, I think generally speaking, there's an expectation we should get some announcement within 48 hours of the inauguration speech. If we don't, the dollar could take away some of that Trump premium that we have, and so you could get a softer dollar trading as a subsequent of that. I think it'd be interesting to see who President Xi sends over. There was talk and speculation that President Xi himself could attend the inauguration. That's kind of been dismissed, but now a higher level ranking position could be there. If that happens, then maybe we shade the risk of that tariff down a bit. So again, who will be attending that? Typically, it's ambassadors, foreign ambassadors who attend the inauguration and so forth. So it's going to be very, very closely watched. And then, obviously, next week is the only window we have. And then we go into Chinese New Year, and then we have to wait until Feb 6th. So then, then all that, speculation about renminbi weakness gets squeezed. Or we'll have to find alternative proxies. Maybe the Korea Yuan, maybe the Singapore dollar will then take on the pressure of the renminbi as that is held. Lastly, I would say we've also been hearing that southbound flows out of China have slowed down. Maybe those get dialed up after the inauguration to help that outflow lift dollar China as well. So I think there's a lot of scrutiny about next week. So.
Yeah, we had that report out suggesting that we could see some sort of gradual implementation of these tariffs, which seemed to have sort of ripple effects globally, and we did see dollar back off for a moment there, relatively speaking. So what sort of scenario are you sort of looking at pricing in next week? Or, I mean, I know you say 48 hours until we'll get some sort of announcement, but, I mean, speaking to clients, how are they sort of assessing or at least modelling what they're expecting as far as tariffs are concerned?
So our own view is that we get a 10% increase in tariffs potentially in the first quarter and another 10 installation in the final quarter of next year. And in particular with China as well, we think it will be laid only because...
So 20% versus 60% expected?
Well, remember, so currently the tariffs are 20% against China. They expect to go to 60% eventually, which is a delta or a change of 40%. And then, what we think is there'd be more trade redirection flows and so forth. But nonetheless, that brings pressure to bear on the renminbi. But generally, everybody thinks it's laid, partly because A, cost of living, inflation has been a number one issue, and B, probably sometime in the second, third quarter, Trump will go for the fiscal tax cuts. There's some tax cuts from his previous administration that are due to sunset. He needs to re-extend those cuts and put money back into the pockets of people. So while I'm introducing those tariffs, I also want to give you some tax breaks and compensate and give you some income to offset some of that cost. So that's why we think layering in makes the best sense from that perspective. But the window is close, is tight as well, because as we all know, the midterm elections. So Trump is not working on a 4-year calendar, he's working on a 2-year calendar, and his majority in the House is quite slim as well. So he'll need to operate under a tight window.